everyone, this is Lori here from Lori Hooks. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with me today. So I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I had an acquisition. And my acquisition is that I bought myself a yarn ball winder. So I have been crocheting faithfully on a very regular basis now for a few years. There has been times in the past when I've thought to myself, wow, this would be a lot easier if I had a yarn ball winder. But, it was one of those things where, it took me 10, 15 minutes to ball up the ball and then I was good. I do keep a lot of floppy skeins around. I tend to just take the label that's on the skein and I fold it up so that it's nice and tight on the skein, and then I just tape it like that. Because, I don't have a yarn ball winder, so I don't want to ball it up because that would be, why bother? It can just sit there and be a floppy skein. It's fine. But recently I had, first of all, I had this garment that I was working on and it didn't go well, and I needed to frog out some very large sections. And I knew it was going to take a long time for me to frog and then ball it back up again, which I could have done I couldn't do where sometimes I frog and then I crochet at the same time as I'm frogging, so I don't need to pull it up at all. But this time I couldn't because I was taking out like 3 large sections of color and then keeping the last section that was at the bottom and continuing from there. So I needed to actually frog it. I couldn't crochet from where I left off. So the other thing was that I had these hanks that I had purchased earlier this year of some wool, and I was kind of putting off doing the project because I was putting off balling it up, because it was going to mean either putting the hank on the table and unwrapping it and then balling it and trying not to tangle up the hank while I balled it by hand, or asking somebody in my family, which is always my daughter, to pretend that they're a Swift and hold the hank and then somebody else ball it, which is what I actually ended up doing with the first hank. I bought 2 hanks, and my daughter and I, we took turns, one of us being the Swift and the other one being the ball winder, and we balled it up. And then when we were done winding up the first hank, my daughter says to me, "You need to buy yourself a ball winder. I'm not helping you with the second one," which I'm sure she would have if I'd, waited a week and then asked nicely. I'm sure she would have helped me at that point, but, I was kind of agreeing it's time to buy a ball winder. So, did some research. It's not like it's a huge buy, but I don't have a lot of space to store things. I don't like to buy things that I'm not going to use, so I decided to do some research and buy something that's half decent. They have one at Michael's. It's a Loops and Threads brand. The reviews on it are hit and miss. There's a very, very cheesy looking one at Walmart. Both of those, I could buy it. I could try it out. And if it really is as cheesy as I think it is, they both have great return policies that I could return it. But instead I decided to get on Amazon and do some research on there first. So on Amazon they have, I call it like these no-name brands. They're these weird names. They're not names that you've heard of before, and I guess they're a Chinese product or something. I don't know what they are. So anyways, so they are, they have a whole bunch of them with these different names on them, but they all look the same. So they had one that does up to a 4-ounce ball, and they have other ones that do up to 10-ounce balls. They're made out of, some of them, the gears are plastic, some of them they are nylon, and some of them they are metal. So the ones that do like a 4-ounce ball, on Amazon.ca, because I'm in Canada, so these prices that I'm going to give you are in Canadian funds. These weird name ones, they start around $23. They go up to about $30 depending on what accessories it comes with, and they look almost exactly the same. So I think it's the same product with just different names on it and different accessories. And then they have the large ones that do up to a 10-ounce ball, and those ones are sometimes a metal ball winder, and so it has metal gears. So I wasn't really sure if you buy a 10-ounce ball winder, if you can do small balls, cakes, whatever you want to call them. But I decided to get the big one. Figured that if I had a small skein that I need to ball up, then you know, I can either do it by hand, or maybe I'll eventually break down and buy a small one if I really can't use my big one for that. But when the time comes, we'll figure it out. So here is the one that I purchased. So this is the metal ball winder on Amazon. I paid $47 and change for it. I do have Prime, so you know, I got it in a day. It came in this box. I'll show you the box so you get an idea how big it is. So it is almost my shoulders in width. So it's probably, I'm terrible with measurements, so I'm just going to tell you it's that big. So when you get it, it is, the only pieces that are separate is this piece comes off. It has this wing nut here that you take the wing nut off, and then you can put this piece on, and then this comes off, which is really easy to take off. You just hold it underneath and turn. Of course, this time it's not going to come off because I'm standing here on video. But I tightened it up really good the last time. Oh, it's not coming off, but it does come off. So, and my only complaint about it so far is that this wing nut, let's see if I can get at the angle, it sticks out a tiny bit. So this could damage your table. So my fix for it was to cut out a piece of cardboard, and this is the piece of cardboard, and it's now pretty flat because I've used it. And this is, you know, I know people who work in the cardboard industry, so I know this is double wall cardboard, so it's 2 layers thick, so it's like a thicker cardboard. But as I said, I've been using it for a while, so underneath my ball winders attached to the table, so it's gotten a little bit flat now. But I don't think it's going to squish anymore. But I don't have a mark on my table because I use this underneath. The other thing that you could use is if you had a small piece of wood, which I didn't. I do have small pieces of wood around, but we would have had to cut it down, and I was too lazy to, you know, find a saw and all those type of things. So I just cut out a piece of cardboard and I use that. So I'm going to try to show you how my yarn winder works. Actually, first I'll show you a couple balls that I did make, or one very specifically that I did make because it's interesting. So the hanks that I bought for my husband, they are 50-gram hanks. That's 1.75 ounces. They are 136 yards, 125 meters. And they are wool hanks. So I have the one that we balled up by hand. Here's the one that was balled up by hand. And then my daughter helped me ball up the other hank because I did not buy a Swift still. I just bought the yarn ball winder, so I was the Swift and she winded up the ball, and here it is. So this is a 1.75 ounce ball. So you know, I guess that's probably, I could go smaller, it could be smaller, it's not like that would be an issue. And I wound it up, and then I took my end and I used a bobby pin to hold my end in place. We have lots of bobby pins around here, whereas I know some people use those hair clips. Hair clips aren't as common around my house, but we have lots of bobby pins. So that is what I wound up. When I frogged my cardigan, which is in a video that I showed last week, I did ball up, like I did a frog. I frogged at the same time as I balled it. So I showed those in the video that I did last week. I haven't weighed them. I don't know how big they were, but they were some pretty good sections out of this cardigan. So the size of them wasn't an issue. So it seems like, although it's a 10 ounce, it does a 10 ounce cake, it seems like doing a small cake is fine. But I have a little messy donut here. This is Yarn Bee, what is this called? Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek DK, and it comes in a donut, and once you use part of the donut, it turns into this mess, and I'm afraid of it turning into one gigantic knot. So I am going to ball this up. So I will try to re-angle my camera and show you how I do that. Hang on. So here we are at my spare desk down in my office and the lights in my eyes. Okay, so we have my very messy donut. It is a mess. It got more of a mess when I moved it over here. And I have my yarn winder attached to the table. Under this table there is a keyboard drawer, so I have to put it all the way down as close to the corner as I can without hitting my hand when I'm trying to wind. So, and I'll just show you how it works. If you're buying yourself a new one, I suggest that you wind a little bit without the yarn as a practice. So that's how it works. So let's get the yarn in here. So first of all, we're gonna put it through this one, and then through this one, and then through this little hole in the top. I'm thinking some of the time it might be a good idea to put an elastic on here, because I did have one come off and I wasn't paying attention and it was a mess. So as a caution, watch for that. So you want a little bit of tension going onto the yarn into the ball winder. Because of the angle of this, you want to make sure that you're holding your tension so that it doesn't go past the the bottom of this hook, so that the yarn comes out of here. So, and it doesn't really, you want to wind not too fast, but you can go slow and it's okay too. So let's go here. And we're winding. So once I've wound the whole ball, I just take my end. I have a bobby pin here. And I attach it with a bobby pin, and there is the center pull end, and there we go. We have a nice little cake from that donut. So this was a partially used donut, and I do find that these donuts, I think the next one I'm just going to ball it up before I even try using it, because they just, for me anyways, they just turn into a big mess, and then I'm untangling it, which is what you saw in the sped up portion. So that was my yarn ball winder. I'm pretty happy with my purchase. Possibly if I had purchased one that had nylon or plastic gears, maybe it would have been quieter, but I don't think that it would be as robust or as last as long as this does. And so far I've been happy with the cakes that it makes. I haven't tried, a very extremely large cake yet, or a very small cake yet. I've just been, all of them have been about this size or a little bit bigger than this. But I'm pretty happy with everything that I've made so far, all the cakes that I've made so far. So, excuse me, I'm pretty happy with it. And I will link the one that I purchased, in the description box below. I'm on Amazon. I purchase on Amazon.ca because I'm in Canada. If you're in the States or another country, at least I find that usually if I pull up the link, I can search by, you know, the exact name of it and then find it on my local Amazon site so that I don't have to pay shipping or the additional, sometimes additional cost if you purchase something that comes from another country. So feel free to do that. It is not a referral link, it's just a regular link. So go ahead and feel free to search it somewhere else because I'm not going to make anything off of it anyways. So thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you next time on Lori Hooks. Bye, everyone.